What's up everybody, I'm Adam, you're watching the Model Aviator channel, and this week we're reviewing the new Freewing 70mm F9F5 Panther. Now we got to give a shout out to our buddy Scott Elmore for providing his airplane to us for review, so Scott, thanks man. When it comes to this airplane, it is in a very famous paint scheme. This is modeled after the plane that Captain Elmer Royce Williams flew on a mission in Korea where he got in a dogfight with 7 MiG-15s. He shot down 4 on that mission. And in case you're wondering, did he live to tell about it? He's 99 years old and still with us today. The manual does a great job of taking you through the steps of assembly. It's not difficult. And the airplane comes with a little wire hook. Very simple tool, if you will. It's going to come in handy when you're assembling the tail on the Panther. Hang on to this. You'll be amazed the usage you'll find for something like that. The part count is very low. We started with our tail section. Notice that one of the horizontals has the carbon spar for the horizontals already in it. This is the opportunity to use the hook we told you about. You'll poke that through the bottom of the vertical and attach the servo wires to the elevator servos from each horizontal side and pull those through the bottom of the vertical. You'll then attach the 2 horizontal sides to the vertical with 2 screws each. In the back section of the fuse where you attach the tail, there's an electronic board where you plug in your elevator and rudder servos. You plug those in. There's plenty of room forward of that board to tuck the wires away. You slide the tail section down into place and attach it with 3 screws. On the 2 points of the fuselage where the wings meet the fuselage, there's a multi-pin that's just stored in a little slot. You want to pull that out. Each wing has its own carbon spar and a plug for those multi-connectors. You get the wings started, plug those multi-connectors in, and you'll get them to fully seat by squeezing 2 tabs underneath together until they are fully flush. When those tabs come back out and snap into place, the wing is on. The 2 wing tanks attach with 2 screws each. The nose cone has a little wooden tab for alignment and is magnetic. Goes on pretty easy. All of the push rods on the wings and on the tail surfaces are pre-installed for you. The only thing left to do at this point is install your receiver of choice and get the airplane set up. We'll cover more on that in the setup chapter. The Panther has a 41.3 inch wingspan. It's 41.7 inches long. Our example weighs 4 pounds, 15.4 ounces, ready to fly with a 6S 4000 pack. It has 8 9-gram digital servos, a 2957 2210 kV in-runner motor, an 80 amp brushless ESC, a 70mm 12 blade fan, and is intended for 6S 3500 to 5000 packs. The Panther is what we would consider a park flyer size model, but considering the weight and the speed capabilities of it, we still think that the safest place to fly it is at a sanctioned flying field or some sort of designated RC flying area. It is sold as a plug and play, which means you choose the radio protocol and install your receiver of choice yourself. Any protocol is fine so long as it's a full range receiver, considering it's a jet. It has the potential to be a 7-channel airplane out of the box. You'll have elevator, rudder with a steerable nose wheel, ailerons, flaps, retractable landing gear, throttle control, and you can use a 7th slot to plug in the extra plug on the ESC and utilize thrust reversing if you would like. Now, of course, if you decide to use some sort of gyro stabilizer, depending upon what you use, you may need an 8th slot to be able to flip between modes on that stabilizer. So basically 6 to 8 channels depending on what you decide to do with it. This model has a lot of nice scale detail. The mold is well done with panel lines in all the right places. You got some cannon detail on the nose cone. It comes with 6 period correct rockets that are tab and slide so they're easy to remove and replace. The landing gear is well done. All the struts are CNC machined aluminum oleo struts with spring suspension, and the main oleos have some scale gear covers. The surfaces are very well done. They are all adjustable via ball link for convenience, and they all have both foam as well as pin hinging reinforcement, so they're very strong. The airplane has plastic in strategic places. The nose cone is plastic, and you have plastic skid plates under both wing tanks as well as the tail. It is a very convenient top loader, and it has a very large battery bay for a 70mm scale jet. There's enough room in here for a lot of the batteries in the largest recommended range. And then finally, it's a very convenient size. It's easy to store and transport together, but if you want to take it down even more, squeezing 2 tabs and unplugging 1 plug to remove those wing panels, not having a loose wing spar that you have to keep track of, and having the gear still on the fuse so you can store the fuse on the gear, very convenient. When it comes to model setup, the manual does a great job of providing the usual bits of information needed. CG, pushrod placement, control throw suggestions, expo suggestions. You can fly the airplane and then tailor the setup to your preferences, but the manual will give you a good start for your maiden flight. Now, being a plug and play, you have to install your receiver of choice. We fly Spectrum, as does Scott, and Scott wanted to be able to utilize the thrust reverse option on this airplane and have all the other bells and whistles, so we chose an AR8360T Plus receiver. That's an AS3X Plus, safe select capable, of course smart telemetry capable Spectrum receiver. We did not activate safe. We are utilizing AS3X Plus, and we have that tuned to the airplane for Scott because you wanted to try that out as well. Now, a couple of other things that we did under the hood. When it comes to installing that receiver, we put it all the way to the back of the battery tray and installed that there. And then there's a black junction box that has a specific place that it is intended to be. That's where it comes from the factory. We pulled that up and moved that to the side of the airplane so that we could get larger packs further back. We knew we'd have to do that with the 5000s that Scott wants to use in this airplane. Another thing that you're going to have to do is install a rear strap, or if you're just going to use larger batteries the whole time, you can just move the strap that comes with the airplane to the rear slot. But when you do, the thickness of that strap with a larger pack is just enough to keep this hatch from seating really well because of this area here. So we took an X-Acto knife and relieved that area so that with this rear strap, the hatch goes down nice and flush. We flew the Panther on 3 different 6L packs, a 6L 3200, 6L 4000 that's in it, and a 6L 5000. Now obviously we put Velcro in the airplane and we're utilizing both straps. Here is our battery position with the 3200, and with the 4000 and the 5000 we're only utilizing the Velcro and the rear strap. Seems to be just fine with the heavier packs, but we like getting them pretty far back. The airplane flies better with the heavier packs back there. Coming up next is our full setup page. For those of you that are Spectrum users, we do have our full setup, including our AS3X Plus settings, so you can check those out. Pause it if you want to set yours up the way we did Scott's. After that, we'll go right into the flight demo. Check that out. We'll meet you back here. We'll give you our final thoughts on the Panther. In this demo, we keep it relatively scale. We depart from that a bit in the bonus footage. The Panther's very smooth for a 70mm size jet. It really grooves through the maneuvers nicely. There's plenty of power and climb rate for big scale maneuvers. We're going to put the flaps down for a slow pass. With throttle management, you really get a long flight time with this one. On a 4000 we can get 4.5 minutes and easily over 5, almost 6 on a 5000. It flies inverted easily and requires no more down elevator to hold it than you'd expect from a scale jet. On this landing, I set it down really hot. I could have flared a lot longer, but I was trying to hit a part of the runway where I know there's no bumps.
Yeah, that one didn't suck, did it?
Here we're going to do a clean stall. That's gear and flaps up. It kind of wobbles both wings, but doesn't really drop one. And you can just fly right out of it. We're coming around here for a dirty stall, geared flaps down, and pretty much the same result. Here we're going to do an accelerated stall, pulling hard, and the right wing stalls and actually rights the airplane in this case. We're going to come around and try that same thing one more time. We'll get the same result. In a hard, steep banked left-hand turn, it stalls the right wing and levels the airplane. Now we're going to do a steep banked right-hand turn going into slow motion here to show you it still stalls that right wing, and this will roll it on its back. You can roll out pretty fast and recover fairly easy, but that's good to know. You don't want to get in an accelerated stall in a steep right-hand turn with this thing down low. Those are full deflection aileron rolls. Much faster than scale, but it's got it in it if you want to do it. Next, we'll do a couple of tumbles. And in this sequence, we're showing you a short field takeoff and landing. This thing will slow down very well on landing, and with the thrust reverse, it doesn't take much runway at all to get it off and back on. I really think our buddy Scott's going to enjoy this one. The Panther flew well. I'm very impressed it flew well without a stabilizer. Our first about flight and a half was before we started tuning it to ASRX Plus. And very stable design, flies very good without a stabilizer. Obviously, we're big fans of ASRX Plus, and when we tuned that to the airplane, it just refined the setup and made it fly that much better. Especially in a bit of wind. When we did the stall tests, did the tumbles, and we did the short takeoff and landing, that was actually a different day than basically the scale flight that you saw. And it was a pretty windy day that day, and the ASRX Plus definitely made a difference there. I turned it on and off just to see the difference. And in the wind, this thing gets knocked around a bit, but with a good stabilizer, it does not. So you can fly it either way, your choice. One thing I'm very impressed with is the fact that most 70mm jets, even sport jets, you're hard pressed to get anything bigger than about a 4000 6L in there. This has plenty of room for a 5000. If you're willing to trim a little bit of the hatch, maybe a little bit more, you probably get a 6000 in there. You might even be able to get a 7000 in there, and I honestly believe the forgiving design of the Panther with the straight wing design, I think it would carry it just fine if what you want to do is scale flying. I see no disadvantage to flying it on the 5000 when you want to fly scale. Now, it will slow down a bit better, lighter, so we thought the sweet spot was the 4000, but the fact is with the 5000 it flew really well, and a lot of 70s fly heavy and can't make enough power to carry that extra weight. Very good power system, a lot of vertical, a lot of speed, a lot of acceleration. It's no slouch. So really impressed when it comes to flyability. When it comes to skill level, Obviously that is subjective. Are there certain people that could use this as their very first EDF? Absolutely, if you have enough experience. If you're somebody that's coming off a trainer and you're looking to get into EDFs as your first airplane after a trainer, even if you're really confident with your trainer, I'm not saying you can't do it, but I think there are better first ever EDFs for a person like that, and maybe this would be well suited as a second jet in that case. Now, when it comes to the price point, $300 for a plug and play that is this detailed and flies this good, it's a really good price. And something that I always think about, anytime an airplane like this comes out, you see people say, oh, I wish it was an 80, or I wish it was a 90, I wish it was super scale. I totally get what you're talking about. I love Korean War era jets, and I wish it was an 80 or a 90 as well, and super scale with gear doors and a scale stance and lights and all the bells and whistles. I get that. But jets like that are $500 or $600, and you have to have some scale jets for the people with less of a budget or less space, or maybe all the above. So $300, it's a nice scale option for somebody that needs a little smaller jet, a little less expensive, that still looks the part and flies the part, and of course it's got more than scale capability if you want to fly it that way. So we're very impressed. We think the price point is fair. We'll put a link in the description where you can get yourself one of these and add one to your hangar if you'd like. That's it for us. Take care of yourselves. Happy flying. We'll see you next week with something cool with wings.